Okay. Hello, everybody, and welcome back again. This is a Wednesday 3:30 edition of Surprisingly Simple Ways to Optimize Wellness. And I'm your host, Dr. Brown, back with you. And it feels really good to be back here again. I just wanted to thank all the people at the yard for bringing it. I couldn't do it without y'all. So with that said, let's jump into this. I am going to share my screen in a moment. Let's see, share the screen. Here it is. Okay, so let us move forward now. As I said, surprisingly simple ways to optimize wellness with yours truly, Dr. Christopher Brown. I'm a chiropractor. I've been a chiropractor for about 30 years now, and I enjoy what I do and I love teaching. So let me do a little bit of that today. So today we're going to talk a little bit about getting rid of hidden toxins. And this subject is in our category of environmental wellness. And I'll talk more about our categories, or what we call our pillars, in a moment. All right. Today, you're going to learn about the dangers of common chemicals found in the environment. Okay. And just to say the webinar schedule, today is getting rid of hidden toxins. Next Wednesday, March 10th, will be movement for a pain-free dynamic life. March 17th will be breaking the stress cycle. And there are replays available for the previous two webinars I have done, optimizing sleep and nutrition for resilience, okay? In this new webinar series, I'll be simplifying the science behind each of the 5 key wellness pillars, okay? One is on nutrition, the other is sleep, the other is breaking the stress cycle, then there is the environment, movement, and mindset. You'll leave with key strategies and a plan of action so that you can put what you learn into practice in the most efficient way possible to optimize your wellness. Each webinar will be about 30 minutes. Question and answers will follow the presentation. And just join us at 3:30 on the following dates, as I had just mentioned. You see them on your screen. Today, getting rid of hidden toxins. Replay is available, as I said. Okay, so the 5 pillars of wellness, you heard me talking about that so far. The 5 pillars and why we chose them here at Align Brooklyn. Well, here at Align Brooklyn, we see wellness as many things. It is truly multidimensional. Wellness, it's sometimes thought of as physical health and well-being. However, as is pointed out by the Global Wellness Institute in their quote, wellness is often confused with terms such as health, well-being, and happiness. While there are common elements among them, wellness is distinguished by not referring to a static state of being, i.e. being happy, in good health, or in a state of well-being. Rather, wellness is associated with an active process of being aware and making choices that lead toward an outcome of optimal holistic health and well-being, end quote. In other words, what they're saying is wellness is fluid and ever-changing. This is consistent with my vision of wellness. As a matter of fact, this is addressed by the powerful 5-pillar approach to the multifaceted nature of wellness that we have devised here at Align Brooklyn. Not only do we look at 5 pillars of wellness, but at the same time, we're clear that these pillars, as much as they stand alone, are also interrelated and mutually inclusive. So pillars oftentimes are standing alone, but then they usually will connect and hold something up. So we're looking at 5 pillars that hold up the foundation of wellness, okay? So the first one being sleep. Sleep is the cornerstone of a wellness lifestyle. Without adequate quality sleep and rejuvenation, the other pillars are weakened. Sleep has such an expansive reach into well-being. It is not only the more obvious physical effects like fatigue and sluggishness and a diminished immune system, it is also tied to cognitive effects like brain fog, depression, and even dementias. Optimal sleep hygiene is the entry ticket to wellness at its best. Then we venture into nutrition. It has been said that food is our most powerful medicine. This adage seems to be lost on today's food industry, with the fast food and processed food markets booming. What we choose to put into our bodies has a powerful impact on our immune system, our energy pathways, and our brain functions. With proper nutrition, one can move toward a much healthier and vibrant life. And there's the environment. This is the topic, our topic today. It falls within this category or this pillar. And this is literally where we live. We spend every moment of our lives in an environment, whether it's in our homes or our workplaces, the mountains or the shore, we reside in an environment for better or for worse. We do not always have much choice in which type of environment we're in or the quality of that environment, but we do have great agency and say in who we are and how we show up in that environment. Movement. Movement is perhaps the most misunderstood of the 5 pillars. In all the years I've been working in wellness, it seems to be the case. In the field of wellness, when movement is considered, we usually think of exercise. That's a dated way of looking at it as far as I'm concerned. As important as physical exercise is, if we stop there in our ideas of how movement contributes to our well-being, then we shortchange ourselves, we fall short. After all, movement is life and it takes place at every moment of our lives. With this in mind, if we place care and thoughtfulness into all of our movements, we will find greater freedom in our environments. And then lastly, in our format is mindset. Mindset, the power of the mind, how we think and what we believe cannot be overstated and should never be underestimated. Our thoughts, beliefs, and values are what make up our mindset and are more often than not the deciding factor between making lifestyle choices that contribute to our well-being or ones that do not. With small changes in behavior and habits, mindset can ultimately give us a firm foundation for a wellness lifestyle. A change in any one of these pillars will create a change in every other one, for better or for worse. There's just no way around this. A decline in any one of these will certainly place a negative stress on all the others, and vice versa. These pillars are important. So let's dive right into the topic of today, and that's getting rid of hidden toxins. We all know about toxins. With the current uptick in news about the environment, renewed activism engaged in environmental issues, and the reestablishment of the US into the Paris Climate Accord, talk of the environment is everywhere. Air and water pollution is a major concern to public health, as well as soil depletion and dirty farming practices. Granted, these are all major problems that need a ton of work to even come close to the appropriate solutions. However, an often overlooked, unknown, and underregulated area of toxins and pollution are right under our nose. Yes, almost literally right under our nose. These toxins usually come in the form of synthetic chemicals. They are manufactured in the pharmaceutical, agricultural, cosmetic, and cleaning product industries. There are some huge exceptions that we'll discuss later. So there are some exceptions to them being synthetic man-made chemicals. There are some natural compounds that have some aspects of toxin to them. We'll talk more about that in a moment. So what we're really talking about today is something that has become known as endocrine disrupting chemicals. These often and mostly unknown chemicals are essentially hiding in products that we invite into our homes every day. As I said, endocrine disrupting chemicals, I'll call them EDCs, it stands for that, endocrine disrupting chemicals. It's a mouthful, so I'll break it down for you, okay? So here we go. The endocrine system is the system in the body that is most responsible for secreting hormones. Mostly when we think about hormones, we think of insulin, adrenaline, cortisol, estrogen, and testosterone. These are among the most common, but by no means the entire list. There's so many different hormones. Hormones are secreted by endocrine glands. Again, when we think of the glands that secrete hormones, we usually think of the more, popular, well-known glands. We think of like the pituitary gland in the brain, or the thyroid in the neck, or the pancreas, or adrenal glands in the abdomen. Again, nowhere near the entire list. These hormones act as chemical messengers that influence and control life-sustaining functions, from reproduction to metabolism to sleep and wake cycles, maintenance of homeostasis, development, and behavior, to mention just some. So why are they bad? Why are these EDCs bad? Among the reasons that they can affect so many aspects of our health is due to the fact that they disrupt hormones, and hormones have such a global influence on the functions of our body. So they're far-ranging and global throughout the body. These chemicals, even sometimes very minuscule portions of these chemicals, they measure them in small portions when they study them, they affect the very part of our system that interacts with every other part of the system. That's the endocrine hormonal system. They're messengers. Endocrine disruptor chemicals, they're chemicals that mimic these hormones. When they get into our body, they can take the place of natural hormones and alter the process in these ways. So that's called an agonist. So these hormones these chemicals become agonists. In other words, they attach to the same receptor on the cells in the body that hormones would naturally attach to, so the hormone can't act. And there are three ways in which that's affected. One is that they create a powerful response, even more powerful than the original hormone. The other way, the second, is that they create a less powerful response than the original hormone. And three is that they create an entirely different response than the original hormone. So either one of those three is a possibility, and sometimes they switch on and off between the two, okay? So what are the harmful effects? Even very minute amounts have an enormous effect. That's why they're often measured in parts per trillion. So they'll take a drop of water, let's just say, and they would measure the trillionth of that drop to determine what the chemical is. So it's such a tiny amount that can have a huge impact. It doesn't take much. Even though, if you even think of the natural hormones in the body that are impacting that the glands are secreting, it's such a small amount. You know, it's not like when we eat carbohydrates, the pancreas excretes like a ton of insulin. It's a very small amount, but that's all it takes. These are tiny molecules we're talking about. And they also are very stable. In other words, they don't break down quickly. This is why manufacturers actually use them in many of their products for like preservatives and things like that, and coatings and stuff, because they last. They're tough. Of course, it also means that they stick around in water, air, soil, and our bodies for a long time. Their half-life is long. Since our hormonal systems are critical to body function and health, when they're changed by EDCs, potential outcomes will include oxidative stress, altered testicular function, suppression of testosterone synthesis, early onset of menarche, which is the menstrual cycle, sensory impairment, and social problems, especially when exposed at an early age. ADHD is being attributed, some forms of ADHD, and possibly even the spectrum, the spectrum of Alzheimer's. Not Alzheimer's. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying. I'm so sorry. I can't. Alter conversion of cholesterol to steroid hormones, promotion of obesity. So it'll lend to obesity, inflammation, and a reduced immune system. Okay. And the more obese one becomes is the more EDCs they hold, because most of these EDCs are stored in fat. Okay. So it's a pretty big problem. Yeah, autism was the word I was looking for. Autism. All right. The altered onset of puberty, disrupted immune system, disrupted bone and health, and cardiac function, and also mental status. So where do we find them? Where are they? Well, frankly, they're all over. They are everywhere. That water bottle you just drank from, it probably contains an endocrine disruptor. The carpet you just walked on, it probably contains an endocrine disruptor as well. The shampoo you just used, endocrine disruptor. The fish you just ate, yep, endocrine disruptor. The dry cleaning you just picked up, The skin lotion you just smeared on, most likely, yes, endocrine disruptors in most of those things, unless we're careful consumers. You may have heard of xenoestrogens. Xeno meaning foreign, and estrogen being estrogen hormone. So these are foreign estrogens. These are estrogens that are not from within the body. They come from the environment, and many of them being man-made. Again, there are some examples of natural ones. We'll talk more about that again. But the xenoestrogens, you probably heard about them. They're just one category of EDC. As a matter of fact, many of the most common and prevalent reproductive problems for women are traced to xenoestrogens exposure. You can find them in plastics, parabens, and pesticides. Exposure to xenoestrogens occurs mainly by ingesting contaminated foods and liquids, although small amounts may be inhaled or absorbed through the skin and mucous membranes in the body. In the case of a developing fetus, the circulation connecting material, maternal, placental, and fetal tissue may transport xenoestrogens to a variety of organs and tissues. So through the placental material connecting the mother with the child, there can be a transfer of xenoestrogens affecting organs and tissues of the fetus as well. So it can be harmful for the fetus also. So where do we find them? We find them in flame retardants, okay? Plastics, paint, furniture, electronics, and food. We'll find flame retardants in all of those. Flame retardants are used on many products today in order to make them flame resistant. Polybrominated diphenyl esters, or PBDE, and tetrabromobisphenol A, TBBPA, make up the majority of flame retardants used. Their similar structure to the thyroid hormones can disrupt thyroid balance. I was talking about agonists before. Well, these flame retardants can act as agonists and compete with the thyroid hormones to disrupt their function and balance. They can alter androgen and estrogen signaling and accumulate in organ tissue over time. So they're cumulative too. The top 4 food sources include meat, fish, dairy, and eggs. Well, except for in infants, they get it from breast milk. Breast milk levels in the US are 10 to 20 times higher than in Europe. So the breast milk levels of flame retardants are 10 to 20 times higher in the US than in Europe. Then there's parabens. They're found in a wide range of products, often in deodorants, might also be in polyester materials. They can cross the skin and enter the body through the skin. So when we put these cosmetics on, these deodorants on that contain parabens, they'll absorb through the skin and go into the blood. They'll mimic estrogens and some naturally occurring in food. So there's some parabens that naturally occur in food. Not enough really to worry about. We want to think about the parabens that are synthetic. Then there's the PCBs and dioxins. PCBs and dioxins are found in pesticides, byproducts of combustion. They've been forbidden, they've been outlawed since the 1980s, but they still linger in the environment and accumulate in the food chain. Resembling thyroid hormones, they interfere with the transport and metabolism of thyroid hormones. The dioxins, they're found in meat, and they're also a byproduct of combustion, and they compromise the neurodevelopment of a child. They alter the thyroid function. They demasculinize the male hypothalamus. They reduce libido. And it is believed that eating a green diet can help reduce the impact of dioxins. Then there's the phytoestrogens. Here is where we're talking about naturally occurring EDCs, okay? They're really not Cs, they're endocrine disrupting, but they're really not chemicals, so to speak. They're not synthetic chemicals, they're natural chemicals. There are also phytonutrients, they're plant-derived compounds. They're found in a variety of foods, most notably soy-based foods. A litany of health benefits. They do benefit from time to time, and it includes lowering the risk of osteoporosis, heart disease, breast cancer, and menopausal symptoms, and they're frequently attributed to phytoestrogens, but many are also considered endocrine disruptors. So there's some really good aspects to phytoestrogens if we know what we're doing with them, but they're also considered disruptors, indicating that they have the potential to cause adverse health effects as well. Consequently, the question of whether or not they're beneficial or harmful to human health, it remains unresolved right now. We're not sure 100%. The answer is likely complex and may be dependent on age, health status, even the presence or absence of the microflora in your gut. clarity on this issue is needed because global consumption of soy-based foods is rapidly increasing. Phytoestrogens are present in numerous dietary supplements and widely marketed as a natural alternative to estrogen replacement therapy. Soy infant formula now constitutes up to a third of the US market, and soy protein is now added to many processed foods. It's abundant around the world, and we need to really find out what's going on there and how it really affects both positively and negatively so we can really be educated consumers. It's found in soy and other foods, naturally occurring non-steroidal compounds they connect to and stimulate estrogen receptors. They may have some beneficial health properties. Alcohol extraction is used in processing to extract some of the phytoestrogens from soy foods, so that could be helpful, but it is a processing aspect. Which whenever food is processed, it alters it to some degree. Infants consuming soy-based formulas consume more phytoestrogens than their peers, okay? And reasonable soy intake in men doesn't seem to have negative effects on testosterone or fertility, but building a diet around soy probably isn't the smartest thing to do. Pesticides. Yeah, pesticides found in water, food and soil. There is an inverse relationship between ingestion of pesticides and thyroid hormone levels. It's also been associated with ADHD pesticides. There's perfluorinated chemicals. These are what we use to line, non-stick coating for cookware. Also in some food packaging, and it interferes with thyroid metabolism again. Thyroid's a big one for these. The phthalates, they're found in plastics and food packaging. They're found in cosmetics, cleaning agents. And if a product has a fragrance, even candles, you're probably dealing with phthalates, all right? They're anti-androgen, they're negative influence on semen quality, and they're agonists to receptors that govern fat cell growth, okay? So they lend to obesity, and they also impact the immune system by interfering with IGF-1 levels, an important aspect of the immune system. So even with candles, I always recommend scent-free beeswax candles as opposed to paraffin, which in and of itself is a petroleum product, and an EDC as well. Then there's BPA. Most of us have heard of this. It's in plastics, in food packaging, and it lines food and beverage containers. We hear of BPA-free plastics. They may leach from plastic into food and beverage at room temperature and or higher temperatures. Released into the environment can occur during manufacturing, transport, and processing. Once we throw away plastic, it goes into the landfill and enters the soil and groundwater. The older the plastic is, the more EDCs it's releasing. Check this out. In 1964, 42 metric tons of BPA were produced in the US. In 2007, it was about 1 million metric tons, from 42 to 1 million in 1 year in the US. They act as agonists of the estrogen receptors. More than 90% of the US population is exposed to them, and it's not cleared rapidly from the body. Exposure has been associated with cardiovascular disease, diabetes, sperm anomalies, reproductive organ dysfunctions, and altered immunity. Observations show harmful effects of BPA on wildlife. BPA has been banned in Canada by the Canadian Environmental Protection Act. Smart people up there. Then there are UV filters. They're found in sunscreens, cosmetics. They might interfere with thyroid function. They exhibit estrogen activity also. Triclosan, found in many hand sanitizers, not all of them. You want to read the label or contact the manufacturer or search online, but they're found in personal care products, antimicrobial products. They're linked to allergies, asthma, central nervous system problems, and they may influence how thyroid hormones act in the body. Perchlorates. Perchlorates are found as byproducts in the aerospace and weapon industry, as well as in the pharmaceutical industry. So they're byproducts of those industries. We find it in our drinking water and in fireworks. They compromise iodine uptake in the thyroid. Women might be more sensitive than men. BHA, BHT, the most common food preservatives out there, okay? They're found in foods and gum as preservative. According to animal studies so far, appears to be carcinogenic. Of course, these are just the most common ones you see over here, but they're scary. It's a scary thing. Cancer-causing agents, pretty assuredly. So EDCs in our planet. All right, what are we doing? We now know what we're doing to ourselves, but let's look at also what we might be doing to our planet. It is now well established that they're not only harming humans, they're also showing up in domestic and wild animals, our soil and our water, as well as our air. This is simply by virtue of human byproducts. EDCs can accumulate in us, in other animals, in the soil and the water, in the air. Many of them are derived from the incomplete combustion of fossil fuels. So it's up to us to turn this around for the sake of a healthy planet for us and our children. To prevent further burden requires that we reduce our consumption of resources. Consuming less means less reliance on fossil fuels, the chief source of these EDCs. And what can be done? So what, you may ask, can be done about all of this? Well, let's take a look. There are things we can do. We can reduce our exposure. This seems common sense, but you really need to know, where it is in order to reduce the exposure. So we need to become informed consumers. You first think about ways to reduce the exposure. One simple way to do this is to keep as many harmful chemicals as possible out of your house and make easy substitutions for common household pollutants. There are those. There's some pictured over here. Those are some of your green substances. I find that they work as well. Sometimes not as well as some of the heavy duty chemicals, but they work well enough. And for health and well-being of ourselves and our families, I think it's worth maybe putting a little more elbow grease into that scouring. Be a critical consumer. Ask manufacturers what chemicals are in their products. Look for safer and eco or body-friendlier alternatives as much as possible. Tip 2, use fewer fossil fuels. Carpool, take transit or walk or bicycle are some simple solutions to reducing our fossil fuel usage. Tip 3, help your body get rid of toxins because they're in there. They're there and they're going to always be there. Even when we detox, when we do a nutritional detox, during that period, yeah, we're cleaning our body, but really what we're doing is we're preparing it to be tough for the assault that's going to happen on a daily basis. So a detox is not to be super clean forever. It's actually it's like an oil change in your car. Eventually you have to change that oil again because it gets dirty, but you change it and it's a good thing. Help your body get rid of toxins. Eat the best quality, freshest food you can afford, organic if you can get it. Stay active and get your sweat on. Use an infrared sauna if available. Make sure your liver is functioning well and eat plenty of fiber. If you think you're at risk, an evidence-based detoxification protocol along with a gut restoration program will go a long way in restoring health. We do provide those. We do offer those detoxes and gut restoration programs at Align Brooklyn through the Align Life programs. So if you're interested, just let me know, send me a text, or you can reach out to me. I'll give you my contact at the end of this talk. Okay. Tip 4, use containers like glass, steel, and ceramic and avoid BPA line thermoses. Okay. Avoid those thermoses. At this point, these appear to be safer and better for the environment if you're using the glass, steel, or ceramic containers. Don't heat things in plastic or styrofoam containers, common sense. Switch to wooden or metal utensils instead of plastic. Leftover jars of the right size and shape make pretty good salad or beverage containers also. Okay. And it's good to know that a little can go a long way here. It's a lot of information. It might be somewhat overwhelming, this information, but rest assured that small changes can go a long way. These EDCs are additive. They have an additive effect. So every little improvement helps. It's better to make one small change than to worry about things you can't control. So it does help to have an expert for evaluation, follow-up, and coaching to support and hold you accountable in tweaking your wellness lifestyle. And at the Aligned Life at Align Brooklyn, And this is our contact here. If you're interested in our programs, for more information, you'll visit that. We look at habits, support, and tools in those classifications to support our clients in leading an optimal wellness lifestyle. So this is a good time for question and answers. I am open for questions and answers. I want to thank you. You can reach out at frontdesk@alignbrooklyn.com. Frontdesk@alignbrooklyn.com. And this is the other contact right here. Okay. And now I'm going to unshare my screen and look at the questions and answers. Stop sharing. Okay. Awesome. Well, thanks for joining me today. It's been a real pleasure being with you, and I hope you've gotten something out of this. And again, I'll see you next week for the next topic, and farewell. Ciao.